All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Oscar Galindo. I'm back with another episode of the Official Visit. Today, I got a very special guest with me. One of the top coaches in the area. Former Notre Dame linebacker. It's Coach Mike Goolsby. Coach, how you doing?
Yeah, Oscar. Good to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad we were able to make this happen. I'm excited to talk to you about a little bit about your background and stuff. So.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah. So the first kind of pregame question I got for you is, throwing it back a little bit. Did you have any kind of pregame routines that you like to do before you would go out to the field, or just any kind of little traditions or superstitions?
I'm big on being prepared. So, if we're talking about high school, bro. I would check my, fit, as the kids call it, especially if it was a away game.
Yeah.
Making sure you had all your shoes, your socks, your shoelaces, just making sure you had everything packed. Because that was always a strange fear that I would have. I just wouldn't bring something that I needed. But as I got into college and beyond, I used to shave my arms and I used to shave my legs back in the day, almost like a swimmer would do.
Yeah.
That was probably my pregame thing. It made me feel more athletic. So
okay.
I was just that was probably it. Yeah, I never ate a lot before games.
Mm-hmm.
I would just have a little cupcake or something. I never really wanted a full stomach, but that was about it, man. I'm not too superstitious.
Yeah. So I don't know why, but I kind of get the feel that you might have been one of those linebackers that had the big old neck pads in the back. Was that you or no? Not
I was
so
in
much?
that era. Was a little bit before me.
Okay.
Just a little bit.
It's already starting to go out of style.
Yeah, that was kind of going out. So, but the guy that I loved, my favorite player throughout my recruitment was LeVar Arrington. And you might even be a little young to remember LeVar. But LeVar wore the cowboy collar, but he had it tucked under the jersey.
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of did that for my senior year. It made you look huge on film or whatever.
Give you that turtle shell.
Not the true cowboy collar.
Yeah. Give you that turtle shell look a little bit.
Yeah, dude. It was all back then, bro. It was all about looking as big as
looking scary,
yeah.
Looking scary, yeah. Definitely. So then, you said you didn't have a whole ton of pregame, but did you ever have a song or something that gets you just fired up, get you ready to go before a game?
I'm a hip hop guy, still am. I'm 40 years old, so
okay.
I listen to Project. I was working kids out this morning listening to Project Pat. Which goes way back. But yeah, back then, again, I'm thinking of high school was more probably DMX, Ja Rule.
Yeah. Oh man,
that was probably my go-to.
Yeah, I can't imagine being in high school when those songs were coming out. Those are ones that stood the test of time. They're still getting played, in locker rooms today.
Yeah, Ja Rule's Ja Rule's first album was a banger. It was music. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. When I hear clap back pop on, man, I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
Yeah,
yeah. All right, and then another quick pregame one, last one here. If I were to go, to Notre Dame, or check out a game out in Notre Dame, and I'm looking around, I'm trying to find a good spot to eat. What was that go-to spot back during your playing days? That place where maybe you guys all went to hang out, maybe you guys all went to go get a good bite to eat.
For sure. For sure. There's not a whole lot in South Bend, Indiana, in terms of options, but two spots was CJ's Pub. They got these fat burgers. CJ's was on point, and then we used to always go to Borracho Burrito.
Okay.
Because they hooked us up. They gave us free food. They gave us free food. So, the burritos were okay, but it was free. So, yeah, we were there all the time.
There you go, man.
Yeah, it's free NIL,
Yeah. Yeah. Past the statute of limitations here a little bit now.
That's true. God willing, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So then, that's all I kind of had for the pregame, warm-up questions. Kind of shift over here to, we talked a little bit, a while ago, and you mentioned, and I've kind of looked some of this stuff up a little bit, get my little research done beforehand. Yeah, you had a successful high school career. You went to go play at Notre Dame. I don't want to tell too much of your story. I'll let you do that. But yeah, could you kind of maybe tell us what about your high school playing career, choosing to go to Notre Dame, all that recruitment, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think before I get into kind of my story, just very transparent. This is why I was drawn to help kids, right? Because I kind of went through this whole process just wide-eyed and very naive. So yeah, I mean, I'm from Joliet, Illinois. If you've ever seen the movie Rudy, we were basically from the same hometown, went to the same high school. I was a young kid, Oscar, so I have a September birthday, so I went into high school as a 13-year-old, which is kind of a trip. So I'm a freshman at Notre Dame. I'm 17.
Oh, man.
First time playing tackle football was when I got to high school. They're going to move me up to varsity. And this is at Joliet Catholic. Joliet Catholic football, like they have 15 state championships, bro. Like it's a legit program.
Yeah.
So I'm getting moved up to varsity as a 14-year-old. Then I'm going to play linebacker. I played like D-end as a freshman. So I go to Penn State's football camp that summer to try and learn like how to play. And what you and I know now about camps and things, like you're trying to get evaluated, discovered, etc. I was like, I didn't know anything about that. I was like, I'm trying to play linebacker. I'm going to go to linebacker U. Yeah. And I did really well at the camp and wasn't even trying to. Ran real well. And that kind of kicked off my recruitment. And then you just kind of like the next 2 years is kind of a blur, bro. So it's like you had 30-something, offers. And it got to a point where it's like, back then, we're talking VHS tapes. So back then, you would send out like a full game or a couple games to a college for them to evaluate you. There was no huddle. There was no highlight films. It was like a full game. Yeah. And then, it was just like get offers. So I had a bunch of offers and then chose Notre Dame. It's a hard school to turn down just when you look at the total package. Again, me being a young man, I was 17. So I probably wasn't ready to go to school yet, just emotionally. I was just such a baby, and Notre Dame happened to be the closest school as far as drive time. It was like 2 hours door to door to get there. So went there, lettered as a freshman, had a pretty good career, ended up being a team captain. I was a good player. And then, had a couple cups of coffee in the NFL, and then, I'm covering a lot here, bro, but then, you're kind of like a little bit lost after football. And that's when I came back to football and I started training kids, and it was kind of a cathartic thing. And I've been doing it ever since. Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of, like you mentioned, it seemed kind of like a like you mentioned, like a whirlwind, that recruitment. And, you were going to the camp to get better as a linebacker. Was that like in your mind, like, hey, like this is, this could turn into something, like it could be a huge boost for my recruitment? Or was it just like, hey, I'm just going to go get the work in, learn from great coaches out there? What was kind of going through your mind? What were you thinking, going into that game?
Like, dead ass. I wanted to play in the NFL. Mm-hmm. I didn't even think about college football. Like when you're growing up as a little boy, like I wanted to play in the NFL. And I was like, like I got to play in college. Like that's how naive I was to this whole thing. Mm-hmm. I did have a conversation with my dad, and I like to tell people this story because it should resonate with young men, young kids that want to do this. Watching football on TV, Marshall Faulk was on, right? He's at San Diego State. They're broadcasting his college games because he was such a good player. I turned to my father. I'm like, I'm going to go to San Diego State. He's like, no, you're not. He's like, we can't afford that. So he's like, you have to get a scholarship. And he's like, if you get one scholarship, that's where you're going. And he's like, and if you get more than one scholarship, then you get a choice. And he's like, you're competing against kids nationally. This is a big goal, big picture. That made sense to me. And I worked at it. But like, as far as that camp is concerned, I was just trying to learn how to play football.
Yeah. So then, kind of tell me about, what's, as the offers are coming in now, the camp's gone, now you're getting offers from, I guess what kind of offers were you getting at that time, and how big was the recruitment? Was it like regional schools? Like, because I'm sure it probably wasn't as huge of a national thing as it is now.
Yeah, you name it, I had it, man. So, and this is also interesting. So you're talking about like 1998.
Yeah.
So there was no like U.S. Army All-American Bowl. Like that was the first kind of all-star game. That happened like 2-3 years later.
Okay.
So recruiting and all of the coverage, surrounding it wasn't quite a thing yet. So, I mean, I was on like the Reebok All-American team, the USA Today All-American team, the Parade All-American team, Gatorade Player of the Year, State of Illinois. So, yeah, I mean, I had offers from I grew up in Illinois. So I had offers from, UCLA down to like Florida. I mean, Miami back then, like in that era, like the, late 90s, 2000s, you're talking like Ohio State, Miami, had both of them, had the whole Big Ten. Yeah, I mean, quite a few. It was to the point though, I mean, I'm not being braggadocious. It's going to sound that way, but like if I sent my film out, I'd get an offer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool. So then, like you mentioned, you went into college young, but 17 years old, but you still managed to, letter in as a freshman. Talking about, how, because I'm sure, how should I say, like you could do the things physically, I'm sure, but I'm like, was there like things going on mentally or like behind the scenes that was like, man, this is tough to go, or like, stuff like anything like that going on?
Absolutely. I mean, I can remember that vividly. And this goes back again to my work with young men now. So, I'm a 3-year varsity starter at a state. We won state, finished the year nationally ranked. I played corner one game in high school as a senior. Like I played safety. I was outside linebacker safety kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I get to Notre Dame and I do not know what an A gap is.
Yeah.
Right. So,
huge.
When I'm starting to try to learn the playbook and trying to impress my coaches and stuff like that, like I'm so far behind the 8 ball because I hadn't really been taught anything. I was just big and fast and athletic. So yeah, there was absolutely, it probably took me 2 years to get, even comfortable, like being like, okay, this is what I'm looking at. This is what my key is. This is my assignment. Forget understanding the whole framework of the defense. I just knew my little role.
Yeah.
But, I'm a competitive guy. And, there's 3 of us freshmen that lettered. So I managed the letter because I showed the coaches, some of that goes back to my high school program, just having good habits and knowing how to compete and lead and all that. So, but yeah, the college process of getting a playbook was painful as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a year longer than I wish it had.
Yeah, definitely. So then, during that time, you're learning all that stuff. You're learning the ins and outs of it. Did you ever let any like doubt sink in? Like, man, I don't know if I'll cut out for this. And obviously now knowing what we know, you had a great collegiate career. But what kind of got you out of thinking, that mentality of like, man, I'm not sure if this is for me, or I don't know if I'll make it.
Every college kid, every college football player, whether it's D1, whether it's NAIA at D2, whatever, it's hard.
Yeah.
It is. You're homesick. You're getting your ass kicked. It is. And I think just kind of like your makeup, I always prided myself on being tough, and it's just like, you just got to gut it out. Like, you either figure it out or you gut it out, stick it out, like figure it out or stick it out. Like, so, I hadn't started my first 2 years. I hadn't started. And then I had a great strength coach, Mickey Marotti, who's at Ohio State now. I think he's the highest paid strength coach in the country. And Mick and I were very tight. And I just talked to him before junior offseason. I'm like, bro, I got to start. He's like, okay, bet.
Yeah.
And he was just on my ass all day, every day. And just brought it out of me. Like I didn't have a choice not to. He's like, okay, we're going to put your money where your mouth is. So I think that was really impactful for me to take that next step and have somebody that kind of believed in me and was willing to work with me and on me, you know?
Mm-hmm. So then kind of tell me, like you said, you know, it was just straight work there, and I was kind of looking through it and doing my research like I mentioned earlier, but you know, it kind of said, you know, you first couple years you were there, you kind of cut your teeth there on the special teams and you know worked your way up and finally given that chance and you just ran with it. What would you say would be, you know, you mentioned your work ethic, but what would you say were some skills maybe on the football field and off the football field that kept pushing you towards having that success? Like as a player and then, off the field, you know, that kind of.
I think you kind of touched on it with the prior question, Oscar, is like, you know, I think a lot of college football players, the kids that, you know, that go there, they're young, they're not really seeing success on the field yet. Mm-hmm. They go back and watch their high school film. And it's almost like they got to remember, like, I'm still that dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm currently not so much, but I used to be, and I still am that guy, right?
Yeah.
I am that guy. So I just think it's just kind of finding your confidence, and even kind of like knowing what to work on, you know? And again, I mean, I talk about like my kids that I train now, you know, you talked to Caleb Pyfrom recently, like we put a ton of work in, and it's like somebody like me, somebody like my strength coach, basically like continually evaluating you, like this is the next thing to work on, this is the next thing to work on, because it's like if I'm willing to put in the work and somebody helps me adjust and continue to grow, that's helpful. But you got to find that like inner confidence and then maybe somebody to help you work it out, because if you go into that thing alone, you're going to drown.
Yeah, 100%. So then, you know, kind of looking at it, you know, you ended up your hard work paid off. Like you ended up, like, if we're looking at the landscape of college football, you know, you look at some spots and, you know, Notre Dame linebacker is, you know, it's one of those positions that's like highly regarded, you know. So tell me a little bit about what it was like, you know, playing for Notre Dame, being in that spot, you know, linebacker that we've seen, you know, so many greats come from that, you know, that position from that school. Kind of just a little bit of the lure of Notre Dame ball.
Yeah, like I said, it's a hard school to turn down just because, you know, it's steeped in so much tradition. And my high school program was like a mini Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. Just in terms of like the kind of blue collar-ish sort of makeup of the guys that go there and kind of built the program. But Notre Dame is no joke, bro. Like it's not quite a military academy, but it's close. And I've worked with dozens of kids that are playing college ball now. And like a lot of your college football players, they don't like go to class. Mm-hmm. They'll have online classes, right? So they're not physically going to a class. So they're rested. They kind of take naps throughout the day, get the food in. But at Notre Dame, I mean, it's like, you know, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. most days. Somebody like me, I was stuck in study hall because I didn't have, you know, I struggled as a freshman.
Yeah.
So I was always trying to dig myself up out of that hole. But it was a grind, man. It was a grind. I'm proud that I did it. I think Notre Dame absolutely changes young men for the better. You know, it's a humbling experience. Yeah. There's no player that's going to go there that's bigger than the program in and of itself. But yeah, it absolutely was a grind. The weather isn't great. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's kind of like Nebraska weather.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm proud of what I personally accomplished. You know, we had like 3 coaches, which when I was there, which wasn't ideal. I didn't sign up for that, but yeah, looking back on it, I've always prided myself on, you know, my physical toughness, my mental toughness, and I think both of those things really helped see me through during my time there.
Yeah. So if you had to go back, you know, reminisce a little bit, what are some of those, you know, big moments you remember? Some of your favorite moments, you know, playing out there, you know, for Notre Dame.
Shoot, I mean, most of it, I think, again, most ex-players would say the same thing. The thing you miss the most is like your guys being in the locker room, the bond, like being on a real team. Because it doesn't, even in high school, man, high school is probably the most like pure type of relationships that you're going to have.
Yeah.
Because the stakes aren't as high as they are in college. That's what you miss when you leave the sport, or when the sport, is kind of through with you. So that'd be, most of my memories are tied to that. I guess like I go back to the toughness thing, dude. Like I didn't miss a practice in like 4 years. Like I broke my collarbone and I had to have surgery. My labrum, I got an MRI last Monday. My labrum's still torn, but like I didn't miss practice, like ever, unless I was like in a sling or had surgery. So like I don't know, those are the things that I look back at and I was proud about that. And I earned my teammates respect, getting named captain was a big thing. I had a couple big games. When you play at Notre Dame, you get everybody's best shot. You just do. You could be playing like a, Bowling Green or something, and they're going to treat that game and that week of preparation like it's your Super Bowl. That's a very real thing. So you're taking everybody's best shot, especially when they play you at Notre Dame Stadium. But yeah, again, I think most of my memories are tied to my teammates.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's definitely, if I had a college football, bucket list or to-do list, I feel like catching a game out there would be.
You haven't been?
I haven't been out there, no. But like I said, if I had to make a list of places I'd want to experience, that's definitely up there. All the
I'll
history.
tell you real quick. It's only 2 hours from Chicago, so if you're ever in Chicago and you're a college football fan, like you don't even need to go to a game, just check out the campus. But if you do go to a game, go during the fall. Yeah, the leaves start changing colors. Like it's really nice, it's something. Oh, it's legit. Yeah, it's really something.
Yeah, that's college football fans' dream. To go visit all the cool stadiums and all the traditions.
You got time. You're still young.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, but so then kind of from there, we'll kind of transition over here because you're from Illinois. You went to school in Indiana, and then you had trips in the NFL with, I believe, Dallas and St. Louis. How'd you end up in Nebraska? What brought you out here, and kind of got you started working with athletes out here? And how long have you also been?
I think I've been here like 6 years, something like that. 5, 6 years I've been here. Work brought me here. I'm in sales for a living. I had a previous sales gig. I had to live here for 6 months in a hotel downtown to do some training. And then I was in Minneapolis and I hated it, didn't like my role, etc. So I quit. And then there was an opportunity back here in Nebraska. I said, bet. So that's how I got here. And as far as working with kids at GCA, like I did it back home in Illinois, had a bunch of great kids. I think I put 18 kids that I worked with went D1. I lived in Wichita, Kansas for a time. I lived in Minneapolis. Didn't train kids during those windows of time. It just never took off the ground. Yeah. And I moved here, and very organically, a counterpart of mine, another sales guy, knew this woman whose son was a great football player, or was supposed to be good, was Avante Dickerson.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's like, my buddy Mark is talking to his mother, Nicole, and she's like, yeah, I work with this guy. He played the NFL. Like, he trains kids. And we met at, like, Zio's Pizza for a slice of pizza. I was like, I'll train you. And then 2 years later, he ends up being the number one player in the state. Yeah. So it's like, so that's kind of what kicked it off with me here. It's just, and I was blessed that we came into each other's lives, Yeah.
So then, kind of, like Avante, then currently, you're also, coaching Caleb Pyfrom, who's 3-star, tons of offers. Another player I really like, JR, Lecouna.
I love JR.
Yeah. Always get tripped up by the last name, but love him as a player.
Lecouna, yeah.
Lecouna?
Lecouna.
Okay, there we go. See, I hate when people butcher names, so I'm like, man.
It's all good.
Yeah, but so how do you approach, or I guess, how do you approach coaching these players? And, some of them might not, be at that, competing at a high level or whatever it may be. How do you get them to that level? How do you, build them up, coach them up and stuff like that?
this could be the longest answer ever, but it's like, first, it depends on the kid.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on the kid. So, like, Caleb, I begged him on Twitter to come work with me, and he was like, no, like, he thought he was a hooper because of his father, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he finally made it out there, like, last summer, the summer before his junior year. And like a kid like that, I just had him do some movement type stuff just so I could see what his feet looked like, and with him, see how loose his hips were.
Yeah.
And I remember taking a couple pictures of him, like doing these squats and stuff, and I sent it out to some college coaches. Like, here, I found a kid that's 6'5", 6'6", 300 pounds that can, like, bend like that. Like, that's God given. So it's like, okay, I don't have to work on that stuff with him in terms of hip flexibility.
Okay.
We're just going to work on technique, footwork, etc. But every kid's different. I think, generally speaking, and I'm painting with a very broad brush, I teach kids like how to move. Like JR a year ago was kind of a tightly wound. Had some injuries, pulling groins, pulling this, and like we've turned him into like an athlete where he can like run wide open, he can bend, and it's like, I probably work with JR the longest, like, out of anybody. Caleb wanted to work during the season, bro. Yeah. He wanted to come out during his season and work on Sundays, which is a first for me.
Yeah, I think I'd seen clips of that on Twitter too.
Yeah, man. And I'm just so blessed because I think some of these relationships with these kids, man, that's like, they're kind of like sacred, like, because I'm a stranger. I'm not an ex-Husker. I don't really have any like name, brand, or cachet in this like kind of local community. But yeah, like if I see a kid that it looks like has got some potential, it's like, let's go to work.
Yeah.
And then beyond like the training and the movement stuff, whatever, I can still go back at 40 years old and remember what it was like my freshman training camp at Notre Dame when I didn't know jack.
Yeah.
Then you're trying to teach these kids football stuff as you're training them, right? Like, what am I keying? What does this formation look like? Like with Caleb, like if that defensive end's in a wide 9, what does that do for my pass set versus if he's in like a 7?
Yeah.
Like just teaching stuff like the intricacies of the game that kind of speeds up the development.
Yeah.
And bro, sorry, last thing.
Oh, you're good.
It's all done one-on-one.
Yeah.
So if I get my hands on you, 4 hours a month, one-on-one, like, kids develop quicker than if they're in a group setting. It's just, I think that's inarguable.
Yeah. So then, like you mentioned with Caleb, he wanted to be a hooper, and then, and it's funny because I remember you reached out to us because, we had him on a watch list after his junior year, and it was like, I was looking at the tape, and he was kind of just like an extra blocker on like heavy sets. Is like I could see it, but I just don't have enough tape to like give him an accurate ranking. But you caught that early on. It seems like before many people. What does it take to like have that keen eye for talent? Be able to like see someone like him and then be able to be like, there's something there that will translate to the football field.
That's a great question. So yeah, I probably got at you guys. Maybe it was like after his sophomore year or something. So I was like, "Are you guys? Where do you have this kid ranked?" And I remember I was a little heated.
Yeah.
So I was like, you're off on this evaluation, which happens, dude.
Yeah.
So how do I see it? That's a great question. I don't know if I can like quantify that. It's just like, it's like if I get a kid and I'm going to teach him how to move. And I don't know. You'd have to come back to me on that, but it's just like, I've been obsessed with football almost my whole life.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I can just see somebody that can like move the right way, somebody that pops a little bit off the screen and has like more potential in their DNA. Obviously a kid that's 6'6", 300 pounds, it's kind of a no-brainer, but it's like, there's a lot of big boys out there. This, there's big kids all across the Midwest, but not everybody moves like they ought to with foot speed and all that. But, Yeah, I wish I had a better answer for you. I would just say years of experience of just kind of like watching kids.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I would say kind of, man, what's in vogue with like football athletes versus back like when I played, kids, again, that are loose athletes. Like I always mention Chris Kelsey. Like Chris Kelsey will catch a ball. They're not overly muscle-bound dudes, but like they cover a lot of ground. They kind of lope when they run. That's what's in vogue in football now. It's like everybody's just kind of wide open, covering a lot of ground. That's what I would look for outside of like, you know, an interior O-line, D-line, something like that. But D-line, you're looking for like pop, for like burst. You're looking for people that can turn a corner. It all really kind of, as I'm answering this, it's like it comes down to hips.
Yeah.
You know, it comes down to the fluidity and burst. It's really, that's what college coaches are looking for, and that's what you try and like help your kids out with. You know, help them discover how to like tap that in themselves.
Yeah. And, you know, one, like you mentioned.
Good question, dude. You got me with that one, man.
Yeah.
You got me.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because, like, you know, like I said, I go and you watch the tape, and like I said, it was only like about a minute something, and it was like him being like an extra blocker on heavy sets. So I was like, I see the size, you can't just deny that, all that, but it's like, I just don't know how he's going to be used, and I don't have enough to like give him a proper evaluation.
No, it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I trained a new kid this morning, came in. And I talk, if you can't tell, like I talk a lot, right? Especially when I'm in like my flow state when I'm working with my kids. And I'll say to them every time, I'll be like, bro, do you understand what I'm trying to teach you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get. Okay. Like, are you sure? Because if you don't understand what I'm trying to teach you, we're wasting each other's time. It's like, I got to stop and make sure you understand what I'm trying to teach you first.
Yeah.
Because if you understand the concept, we'll get there. But if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, so it's like, things like a Caleb, like just even adjusting the way his feet are in the ground and just adjusting his base and all that stuff. That's where like the performance comes from. And I'm going to tell you something. Caleb's an NFL kid. Like you just look at like the DNA, the way his feet move, all this stuff, as raw as he still is, you know what I'm saying? He's raw. And he wants to work. Yeah. Most importantly, like he's disciplined. He wants to get out there, but his senior year, bro, he's going to be a killer. Because we were kidding a couple weeks ago. I was like, man, he's putting his cleats on or whatever before we get started. I'm like, man, I was looking at your junior film. I was like, it's kind of trash, bro. And he was like, I know. He's like, I know. Because he's gotten so much better since then. And that junior film gave him, a dozen offers or whatever. Oh, yeah. But like where he's at right now, he went to that Under Armour camp in KC last weekend, went up against a 4-star kid. I saw the film, like the one-on-one, shut him down, looked crispy, looked good. Got him. Yeah. He's going to have a crazy good senior year. Yeah.
So then, we talked about Avante earlier, and, he's out in Oregon doing his thing. And, we don't know where, Caleb will sign or any of these other guys will sign. But, just that reach of Nebraska kids in other states, at Power 5 schools. Do you feel like, I'm trying to see how I should word this. Like, do you think maybe there's like a misunderstanding of the talent that is out here? Because you work with a lot of great talent, just even other D1 guys like Jameson as well. He's heading out to Lindenwood. What do you think? Do you think there's like a narrative about Nebraska athletes and, the fact that, maybe we do have some guys out here,
I think that
from an outside perspective, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think a couple things. So I'll talk about Avante. Mm-hmm. So early in his recruitment, because the one thing with Avante and all you kids out there, run track. Like run track.
Yes.
And even like, hey, listen, even if you're a thrower, like let's say you're a lineman and you're a thrower, go through the gosh darn track warm up. Mm-hmm. With the just learning yourself, like teaching yourself the biomechanics of how to run. But Avante could always run. He's very long. He has like a 6'5" wingspan. He came to me and thought he was a receiver, and I turned him into a corner just because I could just, the body type. He's built like a modern day corner. But we talk about Ohio State, so I know a guy at Ohio State, their player personnel guy, And I'm like, I think I got a kid. I think I got one.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he tells me verbatim, Oscar, he goes, we don't recruit Nebraska. Like, they don't come here.
Yeah.
So he's like, so get him to camp. And if he performs well, and he locked it down, he got an offer at camp, and then he got LSU, Georgia. Then that's when the lid really blew off.
Yeah.
Because he got that Ohio State offer getting him to camp. But use that example of Ohio State where, like, Nebraska, it's nobody's fault. It is what it is. But you're kind of in a flyover state.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In terms of, like, the bang for your buck, like, the number of players you're going to go elsewhere other than, like, you know, Nebraska. So kids have to work extra hard to, you know, get outside of, like, just the usual suspects, the North Dakota states, the Kansas states, what have you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's really starting to change. And I think this is due, like, Coach Teaglin, John Teaglin, he's a quarterbacks coach over at Warren Academy, and they do a good job. But Coach Teaglin's, like, he's got some, like, elite quarterbacks kind of under his wing. And I'm just like, I think because of the quarterback thing, like the Danny Kalins, et cetera, like you name them, those quarterbacks are bringing in new programs to this area. To me, kind of being an outsider, I don't get involved in recruiting other than if I can open up a door for a kid and call a coach, I will if I can, if it's a good fit.
Yeah.
But I think that narrative's starting to change to answer your question.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think some of that's due, like I said, these quarterbacks.
Yeah. And I guess I'd never really, because you know, and I wanted to ask that because, like you mentioned earlier, kind of like an outsider from Illinois out there. So, you know, you kind of, and you've seen it kind of progress since, you know, your recruiting days and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, like this kid from Ainsworth, Carter Nelson.
Carter, yeah. Bama, Georgia. All of that.
You got Bam. I don't know if you've ever been up where he's from. I've got a customer in Valentine, which is like 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
I mean, beautiful area, but there is nothing there.
It's out there.
And you got, like, you know, Nick Sabans of the worlds and the Georges of the worlds.
Watching
Notre Dame went out there.
Yeah, watching Notre Dame or 8-man football. Yeah.
I just think, I think that special players, and this is another just kind of talking point. This is me talking to high school kids. When I talk to college coaches, when I talk to, like, evaluators, half of them, if you're from, let's say, a North Dakota, or if you're from Nebraska, if you're from like a lot of East Coast, if you're a player like Rhode Island high school football, that's a knock.
Yeah.
Because the level of competition on the film, like, they're like, well, I know he looks great, but, like, dude, he's playing in Nebraska, right?
Yeah.
So I guess my message to a high school kid is, you got to be effing dominant. So that, I remember talking to Caleb about that specifically. You have to be dominant. So you have to, like, eliminate any sort of doubts about the level of competition. Like, you got to be throwing people. So, like, you got to overdo it, oversell it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, you know, you see, you know, a lot more kids now going out and, you know, I was kind of going through the list on, like, Rivals and all those other sites, and they got maybe, like, 10 years ago, maybe had 6, 8 people. Now it's 13, 14, you know, and we know there's way more talent out here than that. But just seeing that national recognition grow a little bit it's cool to watch.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that some of these mid-major type schools, like these group of 5 college programs, they are missing out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's kids here. I don't know if they're quite like Power 5 type kids, but there's plenty of kids that could go play at a MAC or one of these programs. Those are the schools that need to be here. And the other thing too, man, if I'm talking to, not a college coach ever hears this, bro, but these are all, like, great kids too.
Yeah.
Like, they're great kids, like, good families, good grades, like, they're good kids. So it's like, you know, where is a Western Kentucky at? You know what I'm saying? Like, where is whatever, Ohio University, like, why aren't they coming here? And hopefully that'll change.
Yeah, and hard workers too. You know, I know a lot of kids that go practice or you know, go work with the coach or speed trainer and head to work, or, you know, come to their coach from work or whatever it may be.
Yeah, a lot of these kids have jobs, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I mean, like I said, I think the secret's starting to get out a little bit more and more, and I would really anticipate some of these more. these group of 5 schools coming in. I really do.
Yeah, 100%. So then, I guess when one of your players, like a Caleb, who, he got his first offer this year, and it's a D1 Power 5, offer from the Huskers. What does that mean to, yourself as a coach? When you see your players start making, national news and gaining, double-digit offers and stuff like that?
I guess just validation.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, like to your point, like, well, how did you see that in him? It's like, well, again, he's a big boy, but it's just like, I don't have children of my own, Oscar. So it's like, and I touched on that earlier, like the relationships is, not, and every relationship with my kids is a little bit different, but like, Caleb, like, I've gotten pretty close with that kid, and like Jameson was another one. It's just like, man, like they're really out here doing it. Like you can sort of like a Jameson Kemp.
Yeah.
Like, bro, we're going to get you there. I know he doesn't believe me, but you just got to blindly trust me. Like, trust me. Do what I'm asking you to do, and we'll get there. And then it like happens, and you're like, it's super rewarding, and it's validating. It's like incredibly, incredibly rewarding. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, definitely. So then, I guess kind of, and then I guess we're kind of starting to close it out here a little bit. But another question I got for you is, so if I'm a high school kid, I'm an aspiring college athlete, I'm watching this, I'm hearing you talk, and I say I want to go train with Coach Goolsby. I want him to help me get to the next level. How would we go about contacting you? Where could we find you at? And stuff like that.
Yeah, just hit me up on Twitter. So it's GCAFootball.com. GCA Game Changers Academy Football.com. But yeah, man, I don't train 50 kids. You know what I'm saying? I don't train 100 kids. Like, I don't do it, frankly, even like for profit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and then like I said, some of these relationships are kind of like sacred. So, and it takes a lot of energy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I was talking to one of my kids in college last night, 10:30, he's in college. We're talking. So that relationship, that's more energy that leaves. So yeah, hit me up on Twitter. But I don't work with enough kids to like have an indoor facility.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't even have a website, bro. So it's just like, this is a very organic thing. And I kind of like it that way. Because I can be a little bit picky in terms of who I want to work with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, sometimes like if a parent hits me up, it's like, I want a kid to hit me up. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So then, I guess what would you kind of give as words of encouragement or words of advice to, players that do want to go and play at the next level, from someone who has, done that? Exactly.
I would say just keeping it 100. I'm out there all summer. I'm out there at West Side High School because it's open, right? It's an open field. So I'll bring kids out there. And Oscar, I can't tell you how many football kids I'll see that will come out there, put some music on, put their cleats on, whatever, stretch, take a selfie. I know they're throwing that on Snapchat.
Hit him with the work in silence caption, right?
Hit out on my grind or whatever. And it's like, bro, you didn't do shit. I watched you for 30 minutes. You didn't do nothing. You haven't done anything, but you want people to think you're out there working.
Yeah.
So that's number one is work.
Yeah.
And then we're talking football specific work. There's enough videos on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Like there's all kinds of information out there to like, you could like almost help yourself. And the other thing, and this is specific about Caleb that I love, Caleb knows football. Caleb watches football. Like I can mention a player from the 90s and he knows who that player is. So he watches football. A lot of these kids that claim to like love the game and they want to do this, they don't watch football. So that would be my other piece of advice is like watch the game because these NFL games now, bro, the way it's broadcast, it's like teach tape. It's like clinic film, all the slow-mo and all that. Like you could learn a lot. How do you think I learned? and continue to learn. I watch football.
Yeah, they got that all 22 tape now too as well. So you could go and
that's what I'm saying.
Find that on YouTube.
You know, again, back in my day, bro, I grew up without cable television, so I'm watching like VHS tapes and stuff, trying to get access to this game that I love. And now it's everywhere.
Yeah,
so you gotta like get off Snapchat and like put on some film.
Yeah, and you know another thing, and I'll kind of use this as a little transition, but you have so many active players now doing podcasts, doing YouTube videos, doing channels saying, hey, this is how you can get better at this. This is what I do. I was watching some videos of Cooper Kupp talking about, you know, releases and stuff like that. So, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then, you know, I guess we'll kind of segue that into, you know, yourself. And, you know, you also have your own podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, you're very active still with Notre Dame. Tell me a little bit about your podcast and, you know, your role, still within the, you know, the Fighting Irish community.
Yeah. So get this. So another kid that I was blessed enough to work with was Thomas Fedoni, the tight end of Nebraska. Oh, yeah. So your boy converted him from a wide receiver to a tight end. And way back then, like Thomas was just like, man, are you sure I'm D1? Are you sure? I'm like, bro, I'm 1,000% sure you're D1.
Yeah.
And we switched him over to a tight end. Notre Dame was recruiting him. You know, somebody from a Notre Dame media outlet called me to interview me about him as a prospect. You feel me? Mm-hmm. And he was like, do you know any ex-players that would want to do a podcast? And I was like, you know, Notre Dame player. I'm like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And that's how I fell into it.
Yeah.
Was through that relationship with Fedoni. And it's funny because I was, you know, we had the team in tackles and all this stuff, team captain, but they never let me talk to the media when I was at Notre Dame.
Oh, okay.
Because I say too much. And, you know, I just do.
Yeah.
So this has been fun, like in retrospect or whatever, to go back and like be involved in the media because I never really was as a player. So it's been good. It's like we get a lot of views. It's, you know, it's usually like a post-game show. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do one in 15 minutes here talking about Notre Dame's spring game.
Yeah. And
that's been really nice for me because just to get back like into the Notre Dame fold, you know what I'm saying? I've been bringing on ex-players that were like, you know, greats. So it's been good. It's given me like a lot of personal momentum too.
Yeah.
Just be like, yeah, Goolsby was a good player. You know what I'm saying? You're not forgotten, you know, at 40. So it's been a lot of fun. I really enjoy it.
Kind of like you mentioned earlier, let them know you're still that dude, right?
Yeah.
So then, yeah, and then I forgot the Mike Goolsby Show. That's the name of the podcast.
That's it. Yeah. YouTube's probably the best way to watch it just because you can see like our faces and expressions and all that. It makes for probably a better experience.
Yeah. So then, yeah, definitely. You know, I prefer. I was watching the one on the breakdown starters, I believe, that you did like a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
Yeah.
They're all a blur, but yeah, I just go on there, just put a quarter in me, and I just start talking.
Yeah.
So half the time I know what's coming out of my mouth.
Yeah. All right. So then, let me see here. What else I got for you? Trying to think. All right. So then, yeah, I guess, you know, you touched on, you know, you were looking to, you know, you like to keep your, you know, the number of players you train or coach small, but, you know, where do you see, you know, GCA football going, or, you know, do you see yourself maybe expanding that, you know, or like, I guess where do you see that going? Do you have any plans?
And I've got some very successful friends, business types from Notre Dame, and they always talk to me about scaling it, growing it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, my response, man, would be like, not everything that we do in life has to be about money.
Yeah.
Like real talk. So it's like my career, you know, what I do for a living is great. Mm-hmm. You know, the podcast thing is fun. Like, you know, like even like talking to you, like I love this stuff. Yeah. So I think I might just kind of stay in my little lane, man, you know, and see if the right opportunity presents itself. But I just really like working one-on-one with kids.
Yeah.
I really, really do. And I don't know if I could grow it unless I clone myself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because even at the end of the day, you'd still only be seeing 8 kids a day. It's not a great business model, but it works.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not most profitable thing in the world, but in terms of the impact on the kids, I like it. So I'll probably just stay in my lane and see what comes.
Yeah, definitely. When you go a little bit, spread a little bit too far, I feel like you kind of get, it could lead to burnout or whatever it may be, or
you cheapen my product.
Yeah,
you cheapen my product is the kind of the relationships and just and I always like this new kid today, defensive lineman. I find myself apologizing to the kids, because I'm so particular.
Oh,
you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In terms of like the way we step, it's like, no, do it again. Like, I'm sorry. Like, we gotta do this the right way.
Yeah.
And then and I'm a very forceful personality and all that. I'm like, dude, I apologize, but we're going to do this one little thing until we get it right.
Yeah.
And that's where the results come from. So I don't think I could do that if I had a group of, 10, 15, 20 kids running around.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Kind of like, just a regular classroom, you get too many kids in there and you get that less and less one-on-one time. And yeah, like you said, cheapens your product, kind of cheats the player out a little bit. But, so yeah, that's really all I had. The last thing, I don't know if you've kind of tuned into the podcast, but one of the last things I like to do is I like to turn the table over to my guest and kind of let you, how should I say, do a shout out, do your thank yous, just those people that have kind of helped you along the way and kind of kept you pushing. I feel like some that we don't always take time to do in our regular day. So I'm not saying you don't, just what I mean. No,
I've got the word gratitude tattooed on my skin.
Yeah.
In Latin. So I'm absolutely I think it's a great way to live your life with a sense of gratitude. But yeah, like if we're going to do that, I would probably just shout out like all the kids and the families that let me be involved in their development. Because again, I'm a stranger, and then I end up going to graduation parties.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Becoming friends. So yeah, it's like that's all I would say. And then to push that out even further, like if I hit you up on Twitter, get back to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like I saw something, like let's get to work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you want to do this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and yeah, it's always just seeing the students succeed and players succeed. That's always a good feeling. People. I've had a couple kids kind of tell me, oh, thank you, but it's like, man, you guys are the ones doing the work. You guys, I'm just the guy on the internet, man.
We don't exist without them.
Yeah, I'm along for the ride, man. I'm watching it from afar. And,
I love that.
Yeah, enjoying the show, I guess. And that's all I really had. I guess if on one final note, give us a good Notre Dame take for the season.
Well, we got this new transfer quarterback that looked great in the spring game.
Yeah.
And, we're probably a top 5 program, top 8 program. Georgia's breaking in a new quarterback.
Yeah.
Ohio State's breaking in a new quarterback. Bama's breaking in a new quarterback. So it could be, and Coach Freeman's brought in a lot of like speed, a lot of length. The body types look different. So this year could be a special year. I think in the next couple of years, I think Notre Dame's going to make it to a playoff just based off of the type of athletes.
Okay.
And we have a legit quarterback this year. So stay tuned.
All right. So then I guess, we've seen them get to the playoffs. What do you think? What do you think's that final step they need to take, to get to the championship and just win the championship? What do you think?
You need good quarterback play. I think you need, again, at this level, you need special
talent.
Athletes.
Yeah.
Like you need special talents, like Jamar Chase's, etc. Justin Jefferson's, like these dudes. We're starting to get some of those. Notre Dame specifically, Oscar, they need a little bit more size on like their interior defensive line. Those 300-pounders, 320 guys, those guys
movers,
from Alabama and Georgia. We don't have those quite yet. They're hard to recruit into a program like a Notre Dame.
Yeah.
But like we had a freshman All-American at corner, like legit stud.
Yeah.
So, and that was a difficult position for us historically to recruit. So there's a few more kind of dominoes to fall or chips to fall, interior D-line, but They brought Coach Freeman in to recruit, and thus far he's done a great job.
Yeah.
You know, getting in just a little bit different type of athlete, kind of like what we're talking about today.
Yeah, definitely. Hey man, I love it. I'm excited to see it, and I hope keep hearing more of your takes on Notre Dame, and keep listening to the pod and all that.
Where to find me?
Yeah, for sure. So that's all I have for you today, Coach. I appreciate you taking time. I know you're busy with you got quite a few things going on, so I appreciate you sitting down with me on this nice Sunday.
We'll do it again. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. I'm hoping to get out to actual practices or whatever it may be. Maybe talk to you and players or just get tape and stuff, or footage or whatever it may be. So we'll stay in touch, see what we can work up.
Bet. I like it
For sure. All right. So I'm gonna hit stop on this recording.